Hello and welcome to part 2 of hematinics. We have already discussed different hematinics, and the things which we will be discussing today, those are also hematinics like vitamin B12, folic acid, and the growth factors required for the synthesis of RBCs, that is for erythropoiesis is erythropoietin and its analogs we will be discussing, and also the growth factors for the synthesis of platelets like interleukin 11 and thrombopoietin, their analogs we will be discussing, and also we will be discussing the growth factors for the synthesis of WBCs. Those are, I told you in last class, those are colony stimulating factors. Okay, their analogs we will be discussing. So let us first start with vitamin B12 and folic acid. These both of these are very important. So let us first see the role of vitamin B12 and folic acid. What are their functions? So normally this 5-methyl tetrahydrofolic acid is converted into or activated into tetrahydrofolic acid. So this is the active form of folic acid, and this folic acid, that is THFA, tetrahydrofolic acid, with the help of methionine acts as a formate donor. This will convert tetrahydrofolic acid to formyl tetrahydrofolic acid, and this formyl tetrahydrofolic acid is utilized in the synthesis of polyglutamates, and again this polyglutamates are utilized in the synthesis of purines and pyrimidines, which are required for DNA synthesis. So for normal DNA synthesis, this folic acid, active form of folic acid, gets converted into formyl tetrahydrofolic acid, and ultimately this is required for normal DNA synthesis. Now in this, what is the role of vitamin B12? We can see here vitamin B12 vitamin B12 is required in the conversion of 5-methyl tetrahydrofolic acid to tetrahydrofolic acid, that is in the for the activation or the formation of active form of folic acid. For the formation of active form of folic acid, vitamin B12 is required. We can also see another role, that is for the conversion of homocysteine to methionine. For the conversion of homocysteine to methionine, again one enzyme is required. The name of the enzyme is methionine synthase, and for its adequate functioning, again vitamin B12 is required. Vitamin B12 is methylated form of vitamin B12 is required. So here we can again, if suppose there is deficiency of vitamin B12, so there won't be any conversion of homocysteine to methionine. This will lead to increased levels of homocysteine, isn't it? And too much level of homocysteine, we already know from our pathology classes that they are atherogenic, so that can lead to myocardial infarction, okay, hyperhomocysteinemia. So in B12 deficiency we can see hyperhomocysteinemia. And also if there is less vitamin B12, this will lead to the trap of, or the 5-methyl tetrahydrofolic acid will get trapped. That is, it won't be this 5-methyl tetrahydrofolic acid, there won't be any conversion of this 5-methyl tetrahydrofolic acid to tetrahydrofolic acid. So the folic acid will get trapped in which form? That is 5-methyl tetrahydrofolic acid. So there will be defective DNA synthesis if there is vitamin B12 deficiency. Likewise, if there is folic acid deficiency, again there will be defective DNA synthesis. That is, the main problem with the megaloblastic type of anemia, that is either due to folic acid deficiency or vitamin B12 deficiency, is there is there is problem in mitosis. Okay, in precursor cells of RBCs, especially the normoblasts, there is defect in mitosis. The DNA fails to divide. Okay, so the cell becomes very large. that is it is called as macrocytic anemia. Okay, so cell size will be very large, means more than 100 femtoliter. Another role we can see here of B12 is that vitamin B12 is also required for the conversion of methylmalonyl coenzyme A to succinyl coenzyme A. Okay, the enzyme which is required for the conversion of methylmalonyl coenzyme A to succinyl coenzyme A is methylmalonyl coenzyme mutase. Methylmalonyl coenzyme mutase. This requires cobalamin, vitamin B12. Usually this methylmalonyl coenzyme A is toxic, so it gets converted to succinyl coenzyme A, which is non-toxic, and this succinyl coenzyme A is required for the synthesis of myelin sheath. Okay, myelin synthesis requires succinyl coenzyme A. So suppose there is vitamin B12 deficiency, again what it will lead to? There will be defective myelin synthesis and there will be accumulation of methylmalonyl coenzyme A. Okay, so why there will be defective myelin synthesis? Because the succinyl coenzyme A will not be formed because this vitamin B12 is deficient here. So this will lead to some neurological symptoms. So neurological symptoms or neurological signs and symptoms will only be present in vitamin B12 deficiency or folic acid deficiency. It will only be present in vitamin B12 deficiency because vitamin B12 is involved in myelin synthesis. Okay, and what symptoms can be there due to this neurological symptoms? Like if you can think, like peripheral neuropathy. Okay, important ones: paresthesia, peripheral neuropathy, dementia. Dementia is usually reversible. Okay, and there can be loss of motor and sensory reflexes. So these are neurological symptoms of vitamin B12 deficiency. So this diagram is very important. Here we can see the roles of folic acid and vitamin B12 in, or the pathogenesis of megaloblastic anemia we can derive from this diagram. Okay, so let us see something about vitamin B12. So vitamin B12 is released from food. Food, which type of food? It is only available in non-vegetarian products. Okay, with the help of gastric acid, the vitamin B12 is released, and for its absorption, what is required? Intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor is very much important for its absorption, and the site of absorption is terminal ileum. So if there is a disease where there is defective absorption of vitamin B12, that can lead to megaloblastic anemia. So what are the diseases where there can be deficiency of, or where there can be defective absorption? See, intrinsic factor is released from which cell? That is parietal cells. So one disease of parietal cells, there is production of antibodies against those parietal cells. Which disease is that? That is pernicious anemia. There we can see megaloblastic anemia. Okay, in pernicious anemia, that can lead to defective vitamin B12 absorption, finally leading to megaloblastic anemia. If there is surgery of terminal ileum, if the terminal ileum has been resected, then also there can be vitamin B12 deficiency. This dietary deficiency is very rare in case of vitamin B12 deficiency. Dietary deficiency of vitamin B12 is very rare because body has enough stores. For many years the liver stores vitamin B12. So dietary deficiency of vitamin B12 is very rare. So we know the function. Along with folic acid, it is required for the synthesis of DNA in erythroid cells. So I have already told you, if there is poor, where we can see the deficiency of vitamin B12, if there is poor absorption, as in case of pernicious anemia and in gastrectomy. Also there can be this vitamin B12 deficiency, which will lead to megaloblastic anemia. So for the treatment purpose, what is the dose required? That is, we can give vitamin B12 intramuscularly or subcutaneously The dose is 100 milligram daily for 1 week, which has to be followed by once weekly for 1 month, and then you can continue once monthly for lifelong, especially lifelong in case of these. If the cause is due to pernicious anemia or gastrectomy, here you have to continue it for lifelong. Other uses, in other uses, actually this Schilling test here, Schilling test was used historically, not used now. It was a diagnostic test for vitamin B12 deficiency. Okay, and also we can give vitamin B12 in combination with Pemetrexate. Pemetrexate is an anti-cancer drug. Pemetrexate is an anti-cancer drug whose mechanism of action is similar to methotrexate. That is, both of these drugs causes some inhibition of dihydrofolate reductase, DHFR, dihydrofolate reductase. This enzyme is very much required for the conversion of folic acid to its active form, that is from dihydrofolic acid to tetrahydrofolic acid. So if this enzyme is inhibited, active form of folic acid won't be synthesized, that will again lead to, or that can lead to megaloblastic anemia. So methotrexate and Pemetrexate are the drugs that will inhibit dihydrofolate reductase and can lead to megaloblastic anemia. There you can supplement vitamin B12. Okay, and what is the side effect? Although rare, side effect is transient hypokalemia. So now coming to folic acid. Folic acid, again we have seen its physiological role. We know that active form of folic acid is tetrahydrofolic acid, and the enzyme required for its conversion is dihydrofolate reductase. And in tissues, what was the enzyme that was required for the conversion, which was using vitamin B12? That was actually vitamin B12 was responsible for the conversion of 5-methyl tetrahydrofolic acid to tetrahydrofolic acid. So THF can be formed, tetrahydrofolic acid can be formed via two ways. One, by the help of enzyme dihydrofolate reductase, and also with the help of vitamin B12. And this is tetrahydrofolic acid is required for the synthesis of DNA. As contrast to this vitamin B12, that dietary deficiency of folic acid can be there. Why? Because body has limited stores of folic acid only for few months, as opposed to vitamin B12, which is stored for many years. So there can be dietary deficiency of folic acid. And we have certain drugs that are associated with folic acid deficiency, that can lead to folic acid deficiency. We have drugs like phenytoin, sulfonamides, methotrexate. They all can interfere with the folic acid activation of folic acid. Now if there is deficiency of folic acid, then the dose required for the treatment and prophylaxis is different. For the treatment, the dose is 1 milligram oral that you have to give it daily, while the prophylaxis of folic acid is very important. During pregnancy, the demand of folic acid increases, and folic acid is required. If there is deficiency of folic acid in pregnancy, that can lead to neural tube defects. So we give to all pregnant lady the prophylaxis of folic acid. The dose is 400 microgram daily. This will prevent the development of neural tube defects. Okay. Now this last paragraph is very important. Suppose a patient of megaloblastic anemia comes to you, and you don't know, you have just seen the peripheral blood smear and you have diagnosed him or her as a case of megaloblastic anemia. Now the cause can be either due to vitamin B12 deficiency or folic acid deficiency. Now you are confused. Suppose you have assumed that the deficiency, he is suffering from folic acid deficiency, and you have started folic acid alone without giving vitamin B12. So suppose you have given this folic acid, without adding vitamin B12, you can see worsening of neurological sign and symptoms. Why? Because we know that vitamin B12 was required for the conversion of methylmalonyl coenzyme A to succinyl coenzyme A, which was again required for the synthesis of myelin. So whatever vitamin B12 is remaining in the body or is present in the body will be shifted towards correcting anemia, because we have already given folic acid. So whatever vitamin B12 is remaining in the body, that will be shifted in correcting the anemia, that will be utilized in correcting the anemia, and this can lead to again defective myelin synthesis and worsening of neurological signs and symptoms. So this is clear. Folic acid should never be given alone. It should be given with vitamin B12 in the treatment of megaloblastic anemia. Now, few more word about folic acid. Actually, this should be folinic acid. Folinic acid, just write this as folinic acid or leucovorin or tetrahydrofolic acid. They are all same. So active form of tetrahydrofolic acid is also called as leucovorin, and that is folinic acid. Now, we know that methotrexate, I have already told you, inhibits dihydrofolate reductase. If we inhibit this enzyme, actually what is the role of this enzyme? This DHFR converts folic acid, dihydrofolic acid to active form of folic acid, that is tetrahydrofolic acid. The enzyme required is DHFR, dihydrofolate reductase. So this enzyme is inhibited by methotrexate. Methotrexate inhibits dihydrofolate reductase, thereby inhibiting the conversion of folic acid, that is dihydrofolic acid, to its active form tetrahydrofolic acid. Now methotrexate, this is the mechanism of action of methotrexate. So methotrexate can be used as an anti-cancer drug, and it also has some immunosuppressant properties, so it can be used in the treatment of rheumatoid arthritis. So for anti-cancer drug, this is the mechanism of action of methotrexate, that it will interfere with the dihydrofolate reductase enzyme, thereby leading to defective DNA synthesis in the tumor cells. Now, because of this mechanism of action, there are adverse effects also. So by this mechanism, by inhibiting dihydrofolate reductase enzyme, this will reduce the levels of active form of folic acid in the body that can cause, megaloblastic anemia, diarrhea, mucositis, and bone marrow suppression. So there can be the adverse effects due to methotrexate, as it will interfere with the conversion of folic acid to its active form. So what we can do, whenever we give methotrexate as a treatment for anti-cancer or as a treatment for cancer, we will combine that with folinic acid, not it should be folinic acid. Why? Because doing so we can achieve leucovorin rescue. What is it? Leucovorin rescue is that when we give folinic acid along with methotrexate, we can use higher dose of methotrexate for its anti-cancer effects. Why? Because the effect of methotrexate on normal cells, which was leading to diarrhea, mucositis, bone marrow suppression, megaloblastic anemia, can be prevented by giving folinic acid. So we are adding folinic acid with methotrexate, which will prevent these adverse effects. And also we can use, in presence of leucovorin or folinic acid, we can use higher dose of methotrexate, which will have selective toxicity to the cancer cells. Okay, and the normal cells will be you can say there won't be any adverse effect due to defective or less formation of active form of folic acid. Now, can we use folic acid in methotrexate induced adverse effects, or for the prevention of methotrexate induced adverse effects, can we use folic acid instead of folinic acid? See, for the conversion, for the formation of active form of folic acid, that is folinic acid, what enzyme is required? Dihydrofolate reductase. Dihydrofolate reductase. So if we give folic acid, in presence of methotrexate, this folic acid won't be able to get converted into its active form. Why? Because we have already inhibited dihydrofolate reductase enzyme by giving methotrexate. So you cannot use folic acid in combination with methotrexate, because there won't be any conversion of folic acid to its active form, because you have already inhibited the enzyme, that is dihydrofolate reductase, you have already inhibited by giving methotrexate. So here you can only use folinic acid. Okay, so this should be clear. This is very much important. So now coming to hematopoietic growth factors. Hematopoietic growth factors, especially in case of erythropoiesis, I have already told you what is important, that is erythropoietin. We can use erythropoietin for effective erythropoiesis. So from where erythropoietin is secreted? Erythropoietin is secreted from which cells? Juxtatubular cells of kidney. We know that in response to hypoxia or anemia, erythropoietin is secreted. So we have erythropoietin analogs using recombinant DNA technology. We have erythropoietin analogs like epoetin alpha and darbepoetin. So darbepoetin is a longer acting erythropoietin analog. So what can be the indications? So from where it is released, this erythropoietin? From kidneys. So if there is anemia associated with chronic renal failure, dialysis, anemia associated with dialysis, or anti-cancer induced anemia due to the use of chemotherapy, and finally the zidovudine is a drug which is also very hematotoxic drug, which is used in the treatment of HIV. It is used in ART, that is antiretroviral therapy. There also, if there is anemia, we can give erythropoietin analogs. So what can be the side effects? See, giving erythropoietin will increase the viscosity of the blood, so that can lead to thrombosis, and if the viscosity of blood is increased, the resistance will also be increased. That can lead to hypertension, and flu-like symptoms can also be there. So this is important. Erythropoietin is very important. So or this there can be short note on epoetin alpha like that, so you have to know that. So now coming to again growth factors for CSF is a growth factor for, that is colony stimulating factors will help in the synthesis of WBCs. So we have GCSF analogs, that is granulocyte colony stimulating factor analogs. The drug name is filgrastim. We have GMCSF analog, granulocyte monocyte colony stimulating factor or granulocyte macrophage colony stimulating factor, that is sargramostim. So M comes here, so you can just remember GMCSF, so sargramostim, while GCSF is filgrastim. Okay, here are two M's, so one M is here, that is the M of macrophage or monocyte, and here you can just correlate. Okay, so they can be used parenterally, and where you can use, obviously in neutropenia, which is seen after the use of chemotherapy or bone marrow transplantation. So neutropenia associated with chemotherapy or bone marrow transplantation, there you can give CSF analogs. How will you monitor the progress of the patient? By doing ANC, that is absolute neutrophil count. For the longer acting analog of filgrastim, that is pegfilgrastim, you don't require ANC monitoring here. Okay, and the most common adverse effect associated with these is bone pain. It is important. Now I told you that interleukin 11 and thrombopoietin are the growth factors for the synthesis of platelets. So they will increase the synthesis of platelet. So we can use interleukin 11 analogs like opre oprelvecin. Okay, oprelvecin we can use, and it is used for the treatment of chemotherapy induced thrombocytopenia. If there is low platelet count due to the use of chemotherapeutic agents, there you can use oprelvecin. Side effect is fluid retention. So this is important side effect of oprelvecin. And I have already told you that thrombopoietin analogs, we can use them, recombinant analogs of thrombopoietin. Again, the indication will be same, chemotherapy induced thrombocytopenia. We have direct receptor agonists also, thrombopoietin receptor agonists like romiplastin and eltrombopag, which can be used for the treatment of ITP. ITP is idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura. So, idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura. Okay, so this is important again. So again, this finishes our hematinics part. So we started from hematinics, from that is iron, then folic acid, then B12, then different growth factors. Okay, now these are some questions which you will be doing again, and you will be submitting the answer in our group. And in next class we will proceed with other drugs used in blood disorders. Okay, so thank you.